Good evening, folks. It's Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project, Magnetic Reversal News, Sacred Geography, and Shinrin Yoku, bringing you a grand solar minimum update Monday, July 10th, around 8 p.m. Mountain Time 2023. The eruption, as predicted in Iceland, has occurred about 10 hours ago. A fissure opened up near Fagradalsfjall Mountain. Now, this fissure is about 200 meters long and is, in fact, erupting 10 times the rate of any of the last two eruptions. This is quite significant. We have 10 times the eruption than we've seen in the last several years here at the Reykjanes Peninsula. It is a developing eruption, and the fissure is increasing in size and strength as it moves into the evening. And by morning, we should have more information on the direction of the flow, which is now currently south, which is to the left of the screen there, and may be headed towards some roads in a few days. How long this eruption could last? It could last for weeks, if not months. And, well, that is the big story. But we did have a strong 6.6 earthquake that rocked the Atlantic Ocean just about 130 miles north of Antigua and Barbuda. Keep calm. It's boom time. Now, the worst flooding since Tropical Irene was seen in parts of New England over the last few days. Governor Phil Scott declared a state of emergency in Vermont. The emergency declaration directs Major General Gregory Knight, Adjutant General to the Vermont National Guard, to call into active service any Guard units he seems necessary to respond. It also allows Vermont to ask for extra resources from outside of the Green Mountain State if needed. And this flooding is severe. Several Vermont rivers are now entering flood stage, according to National Service reports. Vermont's rivers and lakes have been inundated with inches of rain on Monday. So we've got Otter Creek at Rutland in major flood stage. Its flood stage is at 8 feet, and the latest observed level is 11.8 feet. That's crazy. Williams River near Rockingham is in major flood. Flood is at 8 feet, and they're at 8.6. The Winooski River at Montpelier in major flood stage. Flood stage is at 15 feet there. That river's at 19.8. That could be historic levels. So heavy flooding in Vermont. The entrance to Okemo Mountain Resort in Ludlow, Vermont is completely destroyed. Take a look at this. Yeah, it's covered in debris from debris flows. Looks like there's some landslides there. So lots of flooding going on there. Here we're going to see some Vermont flooding in Ludlow, Vermont. And you can see some of these homes or buildings or storefronts are buried in 4 feet of mud there. Let's go back there. Take a look at that right here. Oh my goodness. Yeah, they are buried 3 feet up or more on the first story there. So our thoughts and prayers go out to all those affected in Vermont and New England with this flooding. Absolutely biblical, as some would say. But could be due to increased cosmic rays in the grand solar minimum. As the sun shuts down and the magnetosphere wanes, cosmic rays are at an all-time high, and that means more precipitation. And the flood threat continues in New England. Severe storms and heat elsewhere. Torrential rains across parts of New England will be slow to subside and dissipate, and significant flooding remains possible. Flood watches will remain in effect for much of the region through varying times on Tuesday. Severe storms are possible the next few days from parts of the plains into the Midwest, and dangerous heat across the southern U.S. will gradually build up and expand this week. The temperature's going to rise here for days. Now, the bad news is that flooding threat is not going to go anywhere soon. Let's take a look at this and roll this through here. You could see New England, Vermont, New Hampshire are going to be picking up at least 5 or 6 more inches in the next few days through July 16th. So that flooding could continue up in New England. There could also be heavy flooding here in Minnesota. Say it ain't soda. Oh, that's Misery. My bad. Yeah, Misery could be picking up some flooding. We could see a tropical system coming through here towards the end of the month there. That's what that appears to be happening right there. Yes. So we could be seeing some tropical systems developing at the end of July as well. Now, a strong 6.6 earthquake rocked the Atlantic. No tsunami threat, no tsunami warning, no injuries. But people did feel it in Antigua and Barbuda. An unusually strong magnitude 6.6 rocked the Atlantic Ocean. This isn't a dangerous spot. It's near Puerto Rico, the Puerto Rican Trench, where it can trigger a landslide here that could cause a massive tsunami in the Atlantic. Luckily, that didn't happen. Maybe it would have to be a little stronger than 6.6. 7 magnitude or greater could do that. But according to the USGS, the quake was roughly 350 miles east of San Juan, Puerto Rico, and 125 miles north of Antigua and Barbuda. Definitely a tectonic quake and relieving stress in the region. There is the quake in question, and there had been an uptick here we had warned about weeks ago, and apparently the stresses are building, and then it's boom time. No other quakes of note. There were no quakes in the U.S. until just now. We have another rumbler here in Tres Pinos. But overall, all is quiet on the Western Front, except in Volcanoverse world. Worldwide volcano news. Couple of interesting things happening today. We've got Krakatoa here. Phreatic explosions yesterday and captured on film. Quite spectacular. They're coming from Krakatoa. Karangitang, which is in northern Indonesia. Destabilization of the dome area resulted in strong pyroclastic flows today. Hopefully no one was injured. At Mayon, strong pyroclastic flows are continuing there as well. And an eruption began on the Reykjanes Peninsula. A new effusive eruption started at 1640 local time, associated by opening a chain of eruptive vents in the area close to Litli Hütte. Yes, Litli Hütte. Get you every time. And here we'll link you to mbs.is. The article, most recent article on the volcanic eruption started near Litli Hütte. And here is the Fagradosval volcano volcanic ash advisory. Aviation color code raised to orange. I think it's at red now. And seismicity has quieted off quite a bit since the 5.2 that triggered the cracking of the surface, which allowed that magma to come through sometime around here. And it is still coming out of the ground. Here we are live in Iceland at the eruption. We're going to be doing a live stream over at Magnetic Reversal News for a few hours tonight, so you can go over and chat and watch the eruption. So stay tuned for that. And stay tuned for the updates coming when we get that live stream started over at Magnetic Reversal News. Over at ruv.is, they have the latest updates on the ongoing eruption. It's even 10 times larger than the first eruption, and the area has been evacuated. There has even more exceptional amounts of toxic gases, and it's recommended that people close their windows on the Reykjanes Peninsula, the entire peninsula, and the metropolitan area due to gas pollution. Gas distribution models show that pollution can reach all the way to the Snæfellsnes, wherever that is. The volcanic eruption is by the sea on the Reykjanes Peninsula, north of Little Hrut, and lava has emerged in multiple paths moving south. This is the live stream coming directly from those government cams. And most of the people that were here earlier today have been evacuated because everyone is evacuated from the region. 37 minutes ago, people were asked to close their windows with a strong emphasis on people not going to the eruption. The eruption is closed. There's a rather wide tongue of lava and a considerable flow. People at the eruption earlier today were there contrary to recommendations of the authorities. So these are idiots breathing toxic gases. And in fact, they have been evacuated from the region. Albeit if they're still alive. Like, look at... Not so smart. Not so smart. Darwin Awards. Here is the series of earthquakes as they go in 3D. Quite a spectacular graphic here as they moved up towards the surface in Fagradalsfjall and is now erupting on the surface. The tremor is showing an increase since the inception of the eruption and should rise up and stay pretty steady for the length of the eruption. Earlier today, one of those people down there on the lava field caught the eruption before the authorities did with drone footage, and it is, well, it is quite spectacular. So let's just take a look at some of his high def. Isaac at iceland.fpv.is. He is the drone pilot. And you can see the length of the Fisher eruption right upon inception. This is just several hours after the beginning. And it gives you an idea how long of a rupture there is happening. And there's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 16 or more areas where lava is fountaining. And that will only increase as the night continues, in our opinion. And there you can see as the sun sets, this is the live shot. All these links will be below. And again, we're going to be live over at Magnetic Reversal News with the eruption shortly after this video. So tune in. Space Weather News Update. We are at solar max and the sun is quite quiet, barely making it up into the M range. There was a moderate M2.3 solar flare earlier today that did create a coronal mass ejection with a faint Earth-directed component, so we could be seeing some enhanced geomagnetic activity in a few days. The 3-day geomagnetic forecast is showing relative quiet for the next 3 days. Now, the climate of Mars changed dramatically 400,000 years ago, and I need to get to the bottom of it. And this is according to a Chinese rover. So, we're going to be investigating what's happening as China's Zhurong rover discovers Mars' ice age ended drastically 400,000 years ago. Now, the current geologic era on Mars is referred to as the Amazonian epoch, having commenced 3.5 to 1.8 billion years ago. Interesting. So we'll do a deep dive on why the Mars ice age ended drastically 400,000 years ago, but you can bone up by clicking the links below. Now, good news. A Kentucky man finds over 700 Civil War era coins buried in his cornfield, and I'm sure he is stoked. This find is worth potentially millions. A good majority of the coins are extremely rare 1963 P $20 1-ounce gold liberties. The reason why they're so rare is they don't have "In God We Trust" on them yet. This is right during the Civil War. And in 1863, many people were being robbed by the Confederates. So many people took all of their wealth and buried it on their property. And here we have that account. Many wealthy Kentuckians are rumored to have buried huge sums of money to prevent it from being stolen by the Confederacy. James Langstaff left a letter saying he buried $20,000 in coins on his property in Paducah, Kentucky. William Pettit buried $80,000 worth of gold coins near Lexington, and Confederate soldiers quarantined for measles reportedly stole payroll and hid it in a cave in Cumberland Gap. And here's the kicker. None of these caches have ever been recovered, but this one was. 700 Civil War era coins buried in a cornfield. Each one of these $20 1963 Ps could be worth over $100,000. And that is a boon to knowledge. Please share this video as we are shadow banned and we need your help to grow. Hit the thumbs up. It helps with the algorithm. And become a Patreon, support the work we do, and watch all of our content commercial free in one place. Be safe. We love you.